So now June finally comes to an end, and with that, I would like to do my mid-year wrap-up of all the games that I've played and beaten. This will cover April, May, and June, and I managed to beat a total of, drumroll please, 5 games. Now this is a big deal because RPGs and JRPGs tend to be very lengthy, so I would consider this a major win in my department. So among the games that I beat, there is one that's probably going to be Game of the Year, one that left me really confused and conflicted, and a random cozy game. But before we start, if you end up loving this video, then hit that like button. It helps the channel a lot. And if you're new here and like this video or other videos, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 10k by the end of the year. Alrighty, now let's talk about the games that I beat. The first game that I beat is Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I beat this game on May 6th. I'm gonna first start with a congratulations to myself because I officially beat all the numbered and non-numbered Xenoblade Chronicle games and plus the included DLCs. And it was such a great time going into these stories. Maybe I'll do an intro to Xenoblades if you're interested in that. Now, Xenoblade Chronicles X is a remaster of the original Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I don't know why I was sleeping on this game so bad when it came out for the Wii U. I actually had it at one point, but I sold it, which honestly I do regret it. But when they announced the definitive edition, I was like, yay, I have my chance to beat them all. And I knew Xenoblade Chronicles X was going to be different, but I somehow still loved it so much. Now, according to my play history, I spent 170 hours in Xenoblade Chronicles X. Editing Mandy here, just to say I actually played 120 hours in the game. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the game if you don't know. The plot centers around humanity finding a new planet to call home after Earth was destroyed. Eventually they found a planet, Mira, but there's a lot to be done to make that planet home, so they set up a little city called New Los Angeles, which is the most unoriginal name ever, but needless to say, it is really important. I personally love Mira so much. It felt like its own character. There was a lot of life, a lot of different biomes and places you could discover, and the open world was not only beautiful, it was also packed with a lot of content and monsters. I was kind of mad that they didn't have a Switch 2 upgrade pack. That is actually something I would buy. So a little departure from the numbered games, your protagonist is actually a character creation protagonist, which is pretty cool. I feel like the story was really good. I love the mixture between side quest and main quest, and I'm on the record with saying I'm not really a fan of side quests, but this game literally made me fall in love with side quests again. Now these side quests are mostly the affinity missions that you'll see along the way. Not all of them are good, mind you, and there's a lot of them, but a good majority of them were really fun, especially when they're teaching you something new about the world of Xenoblade Chronicles X. Alrighty, now let's talk about the gameplay and what I think about it. The gameplay is a mix of action RPG with MMORPG elements, with characters auto-attacking while you manage different things and different characters, but to do bigger things, you have to choose an art. And with each art that you use, it has a cooldown, so you really got to strategize how you use them and when you use them. There is a lot of mechanics that go into place with this game, and I don't really want to sit here and, say them all, but I thought it's really fun. It was also very familiar with the other Xenoblade games. All in all, the gameplay was really solid and I enjoyed it, especially when they introduced the mechs. It is a different ballpark when it comes to those babies. Although, I have to admit, one of my biggest gripes of this game is the way that higher level monsters are right next to your mission, and sometimes it can make it impossible or frustrating to finish your mission because this level 99 monster just swoops in and just one-hit KOs everybody. I hated that, and that happened to me so much. Oh my god, I hated it. It's like, please don't see me, please don't see me, please don't see me. Now there were cases where I was in a place that I shouldn't be because of my level, and that's one thing, but if I'm in the Great Green Plains right outside New Los Angeles, I shouldn't be getting mobbed down by a higher level monster. The biggest difference that sets the game apart from the numbered games and really any other game is the inclusion of mechs. So for context, I hate traveling mechanics in video games like cars, boats, and other things of that nature, and I felt like the mechs were going to be an extension of that, but once I got one and once I used it, it feels so natural. And after I got a mech, I mostly stayed in my mech. Now these mechs help you traverse through the land. You could also fly, and you could do gameplay battles with your mechs. It's really easy and it's really fun. Although there was this weird thing, it's called the cockpit mode. I don't really like that, mainly because it just spins me around at random, and I just found that very irritating sometimes, but that's about it. But overall, the story, gameplay, side quests, and exploration was top tier for Xenoblade Chronicles X. The next game I beat is a shorter game, but it has a lot of stuff that was just amazing, and that is for Expedition 33. Now, I beat this game on May 17th. This is the game that I was talking about that might win Game of the Year, and there's a good reason why. Clair, Obscur, Expedition 33 is an RPG. It was made by a dev team in France, so that's why there's a lot of French stuff going on there. But it takes a lot of inspirations from JRPGs. The creator of the game actually stated, yeah, he got a lot of his inspiration from JRPGs. Oh, and also the game was $50. A lot of people, I really didn't know what the game was about, and I can say that's a good thing. You want to go into this game a little bit blind. So for this game, I'm not gonna really do a story synopsis, but just trust me, bro, it's a really good story. Alright, I do want to talk about the gameplay more because I feel like there's a lot more to talk about without spoiling stuff. And Expedition 33 hits that sweet spot when it comes to the way the combat works. So essentially, it hits a sweet spot between turn-based RPGs and some elements of action RPGs. But I will say that most of the game is turn-based, and I kind of got a little bit heated when people out the woodwork were like, oh my god, a good turn-based RPG, why haven't we gotten one? And I'm just like, what do you mean there was not good turn-based RPGs? They were always there, guys. You just didn't want to see them. That's besides the point. Check out my video on good turn-based RPGs if you liked Expedition 33 video. But this game is a bit different from your classic turn-based mechanics because you have this dodge and parry system. The dodge and parry system is honestly something that I love and hated at the same time, mostly because if you do it right, it could be so satisfying, like really satisfying, but if you do it wrong, it could mean a game over, and it's very annoying. Now, you always get the choice on either dodging or parrying. Parrying is more risky, but if you do it right, you could land some damage to the enemy. But for dodging, it has a bigger window, so dodging is a little bit more easy, but you don't have the whole parrying and attacking the enemy. It really forces you to pay attention to cues. Sometimes these cues are obvious, but other times they could be really hard to spot, and sometimes I just had to make my own cue because it wasn't really obvious with the enemy I was fighting. There's also these things called pictos, and they're just a variety of different boosts that you could put on your character. There is a ton of pictos that you could take advantage from and use it to customize the way you want to play. I love the pictos that were straight and forward. You get an extra turn when you dodge. You get an extra attack when you attack. Stuff like that. So I feel like once you get the gameplay and know how to play it right, it is very fun. Although the big meat and potatoes for this game and why I love it has to be in the story. There are so many themes that I resonated with, and a lot of the characters felt real and the dialogue just felt very natural. I will say I do have a gripe with it when it comes to the story, and that's mostly the stuff that they left out. I felt like certain things needed to be explained more or given more context. Hopefully down the line we get a sequel or a prequel or something to answer these questions, but the game does a good job with having a self-contained story. So it might not be a perfect game, but what makes it so iconic is that the imperfections are easy to overlook when the rest of the game and experience is just phenomenal. At $50, mind you. Alright, the next game is where I get a little bit saucy because I didn't really like the game, but I also think it's a good game. I'll explain it more, but the game is the 100 Line Academy. I beat this on June 10th, and why I'm so conflicted with this game is because I loved the game, like through it, but I despised the ending. Now for some context, this game was made by two powerhouses in the visual novel sphere, and that is the creator of Danganronpa and the creator of AI The Somnium Files. But for a little bit of synopsis for anyone who hasn't heard, you play as Takumi. He is an ordinary student living his ordinary life when these weird invaders start to attack. He is then saved by the headmaster of the school, Seri, who offers a chance to defend those he loves. So essentially, this special power power allows Takumi to do awesome attacks and be really strong. But in exchange for this power, he is enrolled into the Special Defense Unit in the Last Defense Academy, an academy with 14 students who defend the school from the invaders. And while you do live in a school, it's not really school oriented. It's just there for aesthetics, I guess. So that's a little bit what the game's about, and you have 100 days to defend the school. Gameplay wise, it's a tactical RPG, and while I really liked it and enjoyed it, I wouldn't say I recommend it to people who are looking for a Fire Emblem experience. Most of the writing went to the writer who does AI the Somnium Files, and if you know his writing style, he's most famous for the whole flowchart kind of mechanic, which does play a role in the game, because this game has 100 different endings. Capiche? Capiche. So the characters were good, they were fine, sometimes really funny and fun. You could explore more characters if you go through the 100 different types of endings. I personally didn't do that because I just did the default route and then the true route. When I say true, I meant like that's the route where they explain most of the stuff that's going on. So that's why I call it the true route of sorts. But the creator said any route could be canon, which annoys me. I'm not really a fan of a bajillion different endings being canon. I felt like the writing for all these different endings really took away from the core story of the game. So my big problem was I felt like there was no point to anything in the story and it felt very meaningless. Like, yeah, you get a lot of answers to a lot of questions, but I felt like I didn't achieve anything at the end of the game. It really felt hollow and it killed all my motivation to even go back and get some of these endings, because when you know how it ends, you're kind of like, then what's the point? It made me feel like I wasted my time. That's why I say like this 100 ending thing could have been cut down to maybe 30 and not really bother with a lot of different other scenarios. So yes, this game has a lot of content and I do recommend it because even though the ending did not jive with me at all, it might jive with somebody else. So the next game is one I finished recently, and that is for Guardians of Azuma. I got this game as a review code, so thank you so much Marvelous for the review code. Rune Factory is a series that I love. I love the fact that it's a mishmash between farming simulator games and RPG elements. So here's a little synopsis of the story. The game is set in a Eastern inspired region called Azuma. You play as an earth dancer, male or female. When you awaken, you have amnesia, which is not my favorite plot point, but it's kind of traditional with Rune Factory games. As an earth dancer, you have to combat the blight and bring life back to the land, following the calamity known as the celestial collapse. For the farming and gameplay loop, you travel through different seasons: the spring, the summer, the autumn, and the winter. Each region has their own land and farm that you could do a ton of different things with. And instead of farming yourself and picking up your harvest and putting the seeds, you have the villagers of each region do that job for you. So you could basically automate all your villages, but you do have to put in housing, put in work, and the different jobs that the villagers have to do. But once you get that down and you get all that money and all that resources coming in, it's very satisfying, which is a nice change of pace from you have to do everything yourself, and it also gives way for you to experience the story. I do wonder if they're going to keep that function into a new Rune Factory game, like a mainline one. I would love for that to be a feature. I will say towards the end, there's a lot of repeating plot points, which could kind of get annoying, but overall, the rhythm of the game and the pacing of it was really fun. So there's not a lot of depth to the gameplay, but for the game, I feel like it serves its role. I just wish there could have been more when it came to combos or different attacks. I feel like a lot of the gameplay, combat-wise, could have been a bit more refined. The different characters are very fun, obviously some better than the others, and also there is a very robust relationship building mechanic. And while it doesn't really hit the emotional highs of Rune Factory 4, which is my favorite Rune Factory game, it does a really good job of hitting it close. Now, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma doesn't really have a very good post game. There is the option of marrying, having a child, and all that, but as soon as I popped the child, there was literally not that much to do. I somewhat get it because the story is very story heavy, but I just felt like they should have been a little bit more post post game, but it does give me hope that they're working on a Rune Factory 6. Now for the last game, which I technically beat, but I technically didn't, and that is for Mario Kart World. I beat this on June 9th. So essentially, Mario Kart World is a new Mario Kart game. There are a lot of things that I don't like design-wise, especially when it comes to the free roam. I think Mario Kart World is a good game, albeit even a great game, but definitely not worth $80. I feel like a lot of people could understand that. But there are things I loved about this game. I love how interconnected the tracks are, the different outfits you can unlock for each character, and I feel like the Knockout Tour really embraces the chaotic nature of Mario Kart better than the normal courses. And this game has hands down the best Rainbow Road of any Mario Kart games. Now, the stuff that I didn't really enjoy about Mario Kart World. The free roam is very boring, to say the least. First of all, there's a lot of gameplay mechanics that are not really good. There's not a map that you could pull up. There's a little mini map, yes, but it's so easy to get lost. It doesn't facilitate exploration. Imagine playing Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild without a map. That would be horrible. Of course, Mario Kart is different because it's Mario Kart, but seeing as you have this big sprawling world, knowing where you're going will help a lot. To me, honestly, I never really liked the idea of the free roam. It takes away from the aspect of Mario Kart. Not everything needs to be open world in my opinion. The Mario Kart World is a good example of that. So yeah, those are all the games that I've beaten so far. I've beaten a lot of games. I'm really proud of myself because most of these games were really long. Here's hoping that I beat more games in the future. And here's hoping that you guys beat all the games that you want to beat. Which, by the way, let me know what you guys beat in the comments down below. I would love to read it. You can follow me on my socials in the description down below. I hope you guys have a fantastic, wonderful day, and as always, play a good game. Peace, peace.